All right, everybody, welcome back to True Crime Loser. How you doing? Hope you had a nice weekend. And we're back. So I'm not going to waste any time at the beginning and just get right into the next subject. Stephen McDaniel. Why I think that the Stephen McDaniel case deserves at least a couple days. I'm sure a lot of people watched it and was like, this guy. I'm sure a lot of people watched the interrogation and thought, this guy sounds like a robot that someone hit with a rubber club and broke slightly. And I agree. But there's a few things that make this case, in my opinion, just totally bizarre and that I can't wrap my head around, even after a few times of kind of looking into it. And we'll get into those. And then also, just the interrogation itself is one of the most bizarre interrogations that I think we'll probably ever see. Not only what he says, but his physical endurance during that interrogation is mind blowing. He just sits still for like 5 hours, and there's none of the behavior of like, you know, holding himself when they turn the pressure up. He just so, and I don't know how he does it. But anyway, let's start way before that. So Stephen McDaniels, man, what a sad, pathetic little troll of a man. We're gonna head down to Macon, Georgia, right? It's summertime. It's humid. There's good food down in Georgia. I had such good barbecue once when I was down there from a place that had a bunch of license plates on the outside. It was unbelievable. So the food is good. It's summertime, nice people. Mercer's Law School is graduating, right? And when you graduate from law school, that's sort of half of the battle, and then you have to pass the scary bar exam, and which I never really thought was fair for law students. They go to all this school, they pass all these tests, they read all the books, and then right when they're done, they're like, yeah, you got to take this test too. And if you fail it, you can take it again, but you're going to have to tell all your family that you failed it. And you're probably going to go into a pretty deep depression and fail it again and end up working at GameStop. But good luck. I've had a couple friends, excuse me, and the bar exam has just stressed them out to the point of close to death. So Mercer Law graduates. All of those students that graduate are now in the period of prepping for this bar exam. But their college life is coming to an end. You know, they're all going to probably move soon. They're going to have to get real jobs. The days of just being a college kid, you know, even if all you're doing is even law school, if that's all you're doing, it's still not quite as much of your time being taken up as like a full-time job. You can study in your apartment. So it's still kind of that college life. And two of those law students were Stephen McDaniels and Lauren Giddings. And they both lived at an on-campus living that was like an apartment building that was right across the street from the law school. And they were neighbors and they knew each other, and I wouldn't consider them friends. They just were like the type of acquaintances that you've gone to law school together. Hey, how are you? Nice to see you again. How'd you do on that test? Oh, I did good too. Just that kind of stuff, you know? Hey, Steven, your hair still looks like a troll. Sweet. That's cool. Lauren is popular and beautiful and promising, and Steven is weird and ugly and loves violent rape porn. So that's kind of the dichotomy. So Steven, right, he's lived in this apartment for years now, and he's very into prepping for the zombie apocalypse. And so what does that look like? He's got a bunch of SpaghettiOs and canned foods all like stacked up with the dates written on them. And he has a bunch of guns and he's got a bunch of swords. I could have just probably looked at him. You know, he's one of those guys you can just look at and be like, this guy owns multiple swords. This guy definitely owns at least 2 swords and maybe a dagger. You know, he's got that look about him like, that guy owns a dagger. You know, you just get that feeling in your heart. This guy owns a few swords. It's funny too, because the guys that love swords these days, it just makes you such a boner. Unless they're like really nice swords. Or where does a sword collection become cool? I don't really know. But like a couple hundred years ago, you know, the guy with the nicest sword and could use it got all the women. And now, in 2019, if you have a sword, it's like girls are like, is it hung up? Are you going to bring it out when we have people over? So, Steven is an ugly, antisocial zombie prepper. He saves rolls of toilet paper. What else? I think he's one of those guys that spends most of his time on his computer talking to other loser guys about how all women are horrible and that won't sleep with him. And then here's what I don't get about these like celibate, mad at women, mad at the world type guys is they sit around all day watching, when they're not watching violent rape porn, they're just talking to other loser guys about how all women are just ugly whores. And they're surprised that there's not a line of hot girls lining up to date them. It's like, Steven, you're not gonna find a girl in the violent rape porn section. I don't know what else to tell you. It's just, they're not there. They're not there, buddy. And so Steven, in his lonely, just masturbation-filled, zombie prepping, toilet paper roll saving world, falls in love with his cute, promising neighbor, Lauren. And I'm sure he tried to hit on her a few times. They said that she had joined like the president of the Federalist Committee or some college committee, and that he had become vice president, maybe in a way to get closer to her. But anyway, they lived next to each other, and Steven just slowly became infatuated with her to the point of he's full on stalking her. Right? Probably watching her come in and out of his window, you know, maybe sneaking into her apartment for weeks and weeks before he actually murdered her. But anyway, this infatuation starts to take hold with him, and he's just a loser, you know. And I almost wish that I could like pitch a show to one of the networks where I just try to get these celibate, awful dudes to like turn their life around. Like the first episode, it could have been Steven, and I like go in and I like look around in the apartment like, oh God, it smells like masturbation in here. Okay, this is gonna be harder than I thought. And I like roll my sleeves up, and it would be real easy. Advice for these guys, I would say, Steven, go take a shower, okay? Brush your teeth. You're going to put on clean clothes so you don't smell like a Cheeto, all right? And then we're going to clean up this house a little bit. Not much, it's okay. The girls that you're going to be going for are going to be okay with this, all right? You're not going to get a hot, popular girl, all right? Because you're not a hot, popular guy, Steven. Okay? Hot, popular girls don't want to see a pile of SpaghettiOs with handwritten dates on it. It depresses them, right? Hot girls don't want to see a collection of toilet paper rolls, okay? That's what being hot is. It means you don't have to deal with toilet paper roll collections from weird guys with troll hair that smell like a Cheeto, okay? So, but you're going to take a shower, you're going to brush your teeth, put on clean clothes, and then we're going to find you a zombie prepper club, a club of people that also like the strange stuff you do, but it's, it's cool. And then you're going to go up to a cute girl at the prepper club, and you're going to say, hi, my name's Steven. I really love zombie prepping and stuff. And would you like to get burgers with me this weekend and watch prepper movies? That's all you got to do, Steven. That's all you got to do. But it seems like they all want the hottest girl, and it never really works out for them. So they just spend their time watching violent rape porn. Cool, buddy. All right. So we've gotten to know Steven a little bit, and let's keep moving forward. So, graduation from the law school was late May, I'm pretty sure. And so, a month goes by of where they're doing bar preparation. I learned that there's 2 ways they can do bar preparation for Mercer, like 2 popular ways. One of them is you pay for an online class, and you do it kind of at your own time. That's what Lauren did. Or there's bar preparation lectures every morning. And so that's what Steven did. So Steven, at this time of the murder, from what I can gather, he would wake up in the morning, go to the bar preparation lecture, get home about noon, and then have most of the day to himself. I'm sure he should put a couple hours in of studying later in the day, but for the most part, he would get home at noon and kind of just have the rest of his day to plan for the zombies or to look at a little bit of violent rape porn or just do some of the things that he really enjoys doing. All right, so let's build up a little bit to the murder. All right, so I really think, here's my theory on how it went from him just kind of stalking her and being infatuated with her to actually killing her. I think that he really was terrified of the change that was coming with adult life. It's very daunting. Being an adult is kind of a drag a lot of the times. There's a lot of responsibilities, a lot of just the magic and great times of being a kid are over. And you really feel that in the transition from college to real life, because college is probably even less of real life than before college. You're always seeing people. You're always seeing friends. There's tons of girls around. There's tons of guys around. You're not working. You're not getting up really early to go to some job. You're not putting in 80 hours a week for some job. So I think that Steven really thought to himself that the days of sitting around on his computer all day and playing video games and living this like prepper life. He also had a master key to their apartment, and I think guys that are into like prepping and stuff, that would be a really cool thing to have, like a master key. Also, if you're just a psycho stalker having so he had a master key of his apartment building, so he could go into any apartment, he could go into any building. I think he probably snuck into a lot of apartments all the time. That's probably his thing, is he would just stay up late at night and he'd kind of just perv around and go into apartments and just kind of ruled over this apartment complex, that he had lived for years. And I think that he either thought consciously or subconsciously, this is all going to change. I'm going to have to wear suits to work. I'm going to have to probably work for some law, some law firm that I'm just going to be a peon. And he only had one friend, one little lonely friend that had moved away like a month before the murder. And so I think his friend moved away. He was even a lot more isolated, even a lot more just sucked into the violent rape loser dude world of the internet, just deep in the dark dude that's don'tgetlaid.com internet. And so I think his friend moved away, more isolated, more scared about what's coming. And then I think the thought of losing Lauren too, because I think he loved Lauren. I think he loved kind of this zombie life. I think he loved prowling around this apartment complex that he had the key for, and all of this comfortability, I don't know, is about to change. It's about all to change as soon as this bar is taken. And it started to change with his friend moving away. And I think that he couldn't take losing Lauren. I think he loved her, and I think that he had lived next to her. And, like, how great is that if you're stalking some woman and she just lives next to you? It's like the perfect situation. You have a key. He had an extra key to her apartment. He had a master key, and so he could go anywhere. And so he just sort of, like, it's like the perfect, that's almost where, like, someone that was a stalker would want to retire. It's just like the perfect setting. And I think that he was afraid to lose that. And he flipped out. Or not flipped out, but he just, I don't even know the right word, but he just took it up a notch. All right, so I'm going to quickly get a little bit of a timeline established, and that's going to be it for this video. And then I think I'm going to do a video on his plan to get away with it and the mistakes he made, which is one of the reasons this case is so bizarre. Is I would argue that he almost seemed like he wanted to get caught in a way, or at least wanted it to be arrested so he could try out his lawyer skills in, like, a trial, or something is just bizarre about the evidence that he didn't get rid of. And it's too stupid. But his plan to get away with it, which also had really some smart things to it. And then he did an absolutely insane, like, 11-minute TV interview, like 5 days after he did the murder. That's why I want to get the timeline established, because if you just watch a quick documentary, it seems like it's like he killed her and then did the interview the next day, but the timeline is actually pretty weird. So I'm going to do a video on that interview compared to, like, the Chris Watts interview, because they're both going for different goals, I think. And then a video or 2 or 3 or however many it takes, maybe just one, because it's so weird, of the interrogation. And then, boom, we'll be done. I think Stephanie Lazarus is next. Then maybe Holtzclaw, or maybe Philip Markoff. But I think Stephanie Lazarus is definitely next. All right. Anyway. All right. So on June 25th, so a month after they graduate, they live on on-campus housing, like I said, at 4:30 in the morning. Stephen takes his master key, goes into her apartment, is walking around. A floorboard squeaks. She wakes up. Once she wakes up, he jumps on her and strangles her. But I think maybe that he had gone in there a bunch of times before and just watched her sleep, and maybe the floorboard didn't creak and she didn't wake up, which I think he freaked out when she woke up. So I bet he was in her apartment a lot, which is just terrifying. All right, so June 25th, in the morning, early in the morning, he kills her, drags her into the bathtub, then goes back to his apartment. Then later that evening, he comes back with a saw, just grisly stuff, cuts her head, her arms and legs off, wraps it all in trash bags, and then throws it in the trash at their apartment building, okay? So that's on the 25th. She's missing until the 29th. So, like, 4 days of him having the ability to get rid of all the stuff in his apartment. He has a master key. He has a key to her apartment. He has a pair of her underwear in his apartment. He has a camera with footage of inside her apartment from the night that she was killed. He has so much evidence in his apartment. Her friends on the 29th, so 4 days later, are starting to think that something's up, are nervous. They come over to see if she's home. They find a spare key that she keeps hidden away, and they all go into her apartment. It's very important. Stephen goes in with them. Okay, very smart of Stephen, because now he's just the concerned friend. Oh, I knew Lauren. Where is she? Where the hell is she? I live here in this apartment complex. I can help kind of show you guys around. But that instantly negates any hair or any DNA other than like semen that's in her apartment from Stephen, because he was in there. All right, so then the 30th, the next day, police come to the apartment. They find the body at some point during that day. They take Stephen down along with some other Lauren's friends for a little police interrogation. This one is not online except for a tiny little clip on an Oxygen documentary. But Stephen is not talking like a robot in this one. And the big thing that came out of this one is the cops notice he has a big scratch right here. And also a giant scratch right here that really is fresh. And they ask him, how'd you get that big scratch right there? And he's like, I don't know. I think I scratched myself in my sleep. And he's like, you scratch yourself in your sleep? And it just sounds really weird. They're not buying it. All right. Also on the 30th, they find the torso. Friends of hers said that she had thought someone was in her apartment a few days before she went missing. Definitely Stephen. At 1:40 p.m., so in the afternoon of June 30th, so this is 5 days after he killed her, they ask if they can walk around Stephen's apartment, and he reluctantly says yes. They find his guns, they find his sword, they find all the food that's dated. Shortly after, they search his apartment and just really come away with just like, all right, this dude is weird. We need to talk to this guy. Stephen, I don't know if he's freaked out that the cops are in his apartment or if he just... I'll go over more of this when we talk about the video, but he does an 11-minute, absolutely insane TV interview. Cadaver dogs come to the apartment complex, find blood in the bathroom of her hotel. They put that stuff on it where that bodily fluids show up. They put a light on it, and they can see that somebody was dismembered or just something really grisly was happened in the bathtub. They bring in Stephen to like a little trailer that's right by their apartments, and this is after they searched his apartment. He's starting to act very weird. He drinks like 10 bottles of water and almost just turns into that robot mode that we all know. At 10:42, they get a PM that day, they get actual search warrants of Stephen's apartment. And at 11:15, so like a half hour later, they bring Stephen down for the infamous interrogation that we all know, where he's just a robot and doesn't move for like 6 hours. He almost defies what it is to be a human, just sitting still. At some point during that bizarre interrogation, he admits, which we don't get to see, which is one of the parts that just really blows my mind about this case. After not even budging or seeming like his energy or is running out, his endurance doesn't seem like he's really running out of endurance at all. Come on, little T. So after the part of the interrogation we see where he doesn't look like he's running out of any endurance, there's parts we don't see where he just bizarrely admits to burglarizing 2 apartments for 1 condom each. So somehow they got him to say that he went into other apartments and... Little T, everybody, in the flesh. And they somehow got him to admit that he had done that, which was enough to arrest him and take DNA from him and take hair and take pictures of the cuts and hold him, which is so weird of like, why did he want to get caught? Did he want to play that? Did he not want to just live the adult life? Was this just like pulling the parachute cord of adult life, and just he's like, now now I'm can work this case and I can be sort of this killer, or I don't know why he would admit to that. A day later, on 6/31, they find the master key and the duplicate to Lauren's apartment. On July 2nd, so a couple days after that, they find the saw with all of the pieces of biological material on it that he used to dismember her. And then 18 days later, they're still looking around in Stephen's apartment, and they find a pair of her underwear. Old underwear weirdo Russell would be happy about that. He'd be like, ooh, underwear? He'd perk up quick. They found the packaging for the saw that he used in his bathroom. And finally, on August 2nd, so that's a long time with all of that evidence. It happened on June 25th. Finally, on August 2nd, they charge him, which is wild. That's a wild timeline. Think someone like Chris Watts made it 10 hours. And over the next 2 years, the trial goes, and I'll talk about that on a later one. But anyway, I think we got to know Stephen. Like I said, I'm going to go over his plan to get away with it and mistakes in the next one. But what a bizarre little troll dude. And so I'm going to cut this one off, start getting it up on YouTube so I can get it up before I leave. But it's good to hang out with you guys. I'm glad we're in this one. Thank you so much for everybody that's participating and subscribing. I'm starting to recognize a lot of the people that comment every time. And it's cool. I feel like we're all friends. So thank you for doing that. True Crime Loser, out.